Good morning, Eastern Oregon, and welcome to this September 7th version of AM Live on EOA, your connection to Eastern Oregon. We're glad you're here with us today. And don't forget, our stuff is always available on our Roku channel, EOA Live.
Yeah, I
TV.
talk about it all the time.
Yep.
All you got to do is just click on your Roku, go to the search bar, EOA Live. It'll pop up, download it.
Yeah.
And you
It's,
have all
it's
of our
funny,
content.
as much as we mention that, there are still other times like, you guys have a Roku channel? I had no idea.
So, yeah, I know. Lots of people say
yeah,
that.
So
it's very regular, like especially on like live streams. People are like, Roku,
yeah.
But it's better to watch on your TV if you,
right.
Especially like the older generation. And this isn't being like,
who is that?
But people that don't necessarily know how to mirror your phone to your TV.
Yeah.
The simple answer to that is Roku.
Yeah, it's funny because as much as all of our electronics are integrated, it's still really difficult. It's still really difficult to get. Hey, how do I get this to there?
They don't make it easy.
No.
Thankfully, Google and YouTube.
There's a lot of differences. Yeah, but so yep. Good. How are you this morning, man?
I'm good. What is today? Thursday.
Today's
first Friday.
Yeah.
First Friday.
First Friday.
Seems like this week just flew by.
Well, I mean, it started with a day short. And so
that's true, right?
And then those things always, that's how it always goes.
Yeah, I saw a meme where it's like, I dread the Tuesday after Labor Day.
Really? Yeah. And the 3-day weeks the 4-day weeks just kind of mess me up. I mean, but yeah, because it is.
My kids just started school yesterday. Their first day of school was yesterday compared to here, if I remember right, I think we talked about this when I was a kid, we always started after Labor Day.
Yeah.
But LeGrand starts before Labor Day, which is weird.
Yeah. Well, so George Mendoza is here with us this morning, and we'll ask him.
We're going to put him on the hot seat.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't think that's too tough of a question.
Outside of his realm of knowledge.
He probably could figure that out. Yeah.
Yeah. Cool.
So, but yeah. No, and that's always, I know that it's from being married to a teacher for 20 years that it's all about, it's math.
There's a certain amount of days they have to get in a year.
And in our area, snow days, I mean, they build snow days normally into the schedule a little bit, so they have some padding, but even that can mess stuff up.
When I was a kid, once again, and this isn't the old walking up the hill with no shoes on story. I never had one snow day in my whole time of school here, not one. And it was way more. There was way more snow back then, and I promise you that. There was one year, I think it was '94, so I think it was my freshman or sophomore year in high school. We couldn't even go out our front door. We had to go out the back door and dig the front door out because it had drifted about 8.5 feet high.
Yeah, that's not when you lived here. That's when you lived here, not in Southern Cal, right?
No, right? Yeah, yeah. But I lived here for most of my life. You know what I mean? And we never had one snow day while I was in school. Yeah, not once.
Well, I tell you, I grew up in Wyoming, and I mean, when it snowed, it was serious snow, and it literally would have to be. There were not very many snow days.
Yeah,
because the bar was real set, was set high. I mean, that culture is more acclimated for snow. And so it was like, 6 inches of snow, the buses didn't even hesitate to run. I mean, they were going to run. So,
yeah, it's not like Western Oregon where my kids are. If there's a skiff, they're like, oh, we're on bus routes or we're no rides today. But I also don't think, I think part of today, like the whole thing with today is I don't think near as many kids walk to school. I don't ever see kids walking to school. We all walk to school.
Yeah.
Everybody. Everybody that lived on the east side of town would walk up through the college, and you know what I mean? That was a part of it. And now I don't see many kids out walking.
And even when my kids were young, I would go get them. I would pander to them, and it was fun. I would make jokes because we'd be close to our house. And we didn't live that far away from, top of 2nd Street is where we lived, not far from the high school. And I would see somebody walking close to our house, and I'd go like, how did that kid get here?
Make it, yeah, right.
Yeah.
My mom worked at the high school when I walked to school. I could have very easily hopped in the vehicle and rode with mom.
Yeah.
But I liked walking.
Yeah.
It was part of the, we wanted to be outside as much as possible.
Yeah.
Spent more time up there. So it's gone now, but there used to be basketball courts outdoors at EOU, and they were 9-foot hoops. They were a foot shorter.
Yeah,
and they were right there next to Ackerman. So where now there's a dorm there, but that used to be, a basketball. It used to be blacktop. And I spent so much time of my childhood right there because it was right on the way home from school. If we didn't have practice or something, we're stopping and playing basketball on the way home every day.
Yeah. How life has changed.
So different.
Yeah.
So different.
You want to do sports?
Let's do it.
All right.
Morning Sports Report brought to you by Northwest Furniture and Mattress. Big Red Rocking Chair on Elm, off Adams in LeGrand. Go check them out. Daggett family. Their showroom is absolutely gorgeous. It's American-made home furnishings. They want to make you comfortable in your own home. EOU sports this weekend. We have volleyball on Friday at 7. We have volleyball on Saturday at 5. We play Multnomah and Warner Pacific. Those I don't want to overlook games, but I mean, we're number 1 in the country. This team's really good, and those teams are kind of lower end teams in the CCC. It should be no problem. EOU's 9-0 right now. They're the number 1 team in the country. And I sat down with head coach Khaki McLean-Moorhead, and here's a little snip of that. 9 games into the season, 10 games into the season.
9.
Unblemished record so far.
So far.
Number 1 in the country.
So far.
What do you tell the girls, like when you have them all together and you have this bullseye, like I call it,
Yep.
What do you tell them?
It really just comes down to going back to work and getting 1% better every single day and having that growth mindset. And it's not about right now. It's about where we want to be in December.
I'm going to release that interview on Friday. I was going to release it earlier in the week, but I decided I'm going to try to release interviews that coincide with sporting events. So like they play on Friday, so I'm going to release that on Friday. It's a full interview with Khaki. It's about 15 minutes long. It'll come out on my sports show on Friday before the volleyball game. EOU football's at home this weekend. Again, they had a tough week last week. I think this weekend it should be better. I talked to a lot of people around town, and everybody's feeling much better about this football team than last year. So, I mean, that's a good starting point. The last week's game was rough, but I think this preseason game against Whitworth will get some stuff tuned in. 1:00 Community Stadium. Get out there and support them. It's kids weekend and it's small business weekend. So if you have a small business here in town and you want some free tickets, email EOU Athletics and they'll give you, I think, up to 5 free tickets for games this weekend. Wow. Which is kind of cool. Just any small business. We could get tickets if we wanted to, if you know anybody that wants tickets. And then on Saturday at the games, they're going to print out posters for the kids and the athletes are going to sign them after the games, which is kind of cool too. I mean, you'll get to meet, obviously, a whole bunch of different football players, and then the number 1 team in the country, the volleyball team, will be doing the same thing after their game at 5. So that's kind of cool. I'm also working on another project right now, the same thing I did last year. I'm going to sit down and interview every single LHS senior athlete, and here's a little sneak peek at that. Do you like pineapple on pizza?
Nope.
What's your favorite food? Like if mom's cooking or like a restaurant, like what do you got to have?
I gotta have steak.
Yeah?
Steak and potatoes.
Do you like pineapple on pizza?
I do, actually. It's probably my favorite pizza.
Really?
Yeah.
What's wrong with you? What's your favorite food?
My favorite food?
Yeah.
Probably enchiladas. I love those.
Red or green?
Green.
You like pineapple on pizza?
I do.
What's your favorite food?
I'd have to say pepperoni pizza.
Really?
Yeah.
Like out of everything, you could have T-bone steak, you could have pasta, but you're gonna take pepperoni pizza?
It's either pepperoni pizza or maybe a filet mignon.
Do you like pepperoni on pizza?
Yes.
You do?
Yeah.
You're one of the weird ones, huh? What's your favorite food?
I don't know. I'd probably go steak.
I asked him, do you like pepperoni on pizza? I even fooled myself on that last one. But that's a small look into I'm Holly up at the high school is emailing me the list of all the senior athletes. I know for sure, just football and volleyball, because that's what I'm working on right now. There's 19, so it's going to end up being around 50 again, like last year. So I'll release those by themselves as little, segments, and then at the end I'll make a little highlight video of all of them and release it for the kids to enjoy and the families. Yeah.
All right.
LHS football's at Crook County on Friday. They're going to play Klamath Union, which would have been a better first game for us.
Yeah.
I mean, because Klamath Union's a little bit, not quite the caliber team that Weiser is. And I think we'll do a lot better. Peasley, the quarterback, I talked to him yesterday. He's playing. He's good. He just tweaked his ankle that he hurt during camp again, and he's going to be back. And I mean, we got to figure out the offensive line. It's weird because the similarities between LeGrand and EOU is this year it's the same. I mean, it's up front, and that's the hardest positions to recruit. So I understand. I mean, it's the hardest to get kids to play. No, in high school, nobody wants to be the lineman. Everybody wants to touch the ball,
Sure.
And so it's a really, really hard positions to fill. And that's where we're going to win or lose games this year, both EOU and LHS. So we got to get that figured out.
Yeah.
Morning Sports Report brought to you by Northwest Furniture and Mattress. Big Red Rocking Chair on Elm, off Adams and LeGrand. Go check them out.
Yep. All righty. Well, and then mentioning our sponsors, want to be sure and talk about Valley Insurance downtown LeGrand here. Appreciate Matt and Joel. Thank you. Matt and Joel own that business, and they bought the old Umpqua Bank building downtown. And if you're losing your Oregon health plan, be sure and check them out. Valley Insurance downtown. So, and they're also a sponsor of the football games that are happening, and we appreciate the stuff that they do.
Big supporter of the community, just everything, sports.
Yeah. And the businesses that do that, I mean, Rock and Sons, I talked to Justin last night, JB, and they're going to be sponsoring the games too. But those businesses that consistently support sports, whatever it might be,
Yeah.
Big help for us, but
Reed
even a bigger help for the community.
Always jumps in, P&K.
Yeah.
Northwest Furniture and Mattress.
Yeah.
Buffalo Peak does it whenever
Yeah.
we give them a call. So yeah, there's a lot of businesses. Bench Warmers does it. Anytime I call Scarfo, hey,
Yeah.
we need a sponsor for something.
Yeah.
Jumps in and yeah, we're fortunate that we have businesses like that.
It was funny the other day when I think two or three of the conversations that I had happened over the text message. I mean, I sent them a picture of the flyer and said, hey, and yep, that sounds good. So just funny.
Cool.
All right. Let's take a look outside. Pretty this morning. I love the cooler mornings. And this is what it looks like today.
80 again.
Yep. And
I can live with that.
Just exactly what it was predicted earlier in the week. So
it's nice that it's getting down below 50 at night too.
Yeah.
Makes it nicer. I can turn the AC off and open the windows and get some fresh air,
That's right. Yeah. So, well, George Mendoza is going to be here with us in just a minute, and I want to remind you all that you have the opportunity. Oh wait, I forgot. I forgot a bit of news, and that is, a couple of the council members resigned last night in Baker City. There's something going on, and they've had some issues. I don't know what's going on the inside, but there's been some contentiousness and drama going on at the city council in Baker City. Two of the members resigned last night, and the deal with that is now they don't even have a quorum in order to do business. So they've got to call an emergency election and deal with that. And just a little bit of news. We don't really know what's going on behind the scene, but Alex McCadden, our news director from across the state, sent us that information. Appreciate Alex. So George is going to be on the show here in just a minute, and this is your opportunity to ask questions. I occasionally will have people that will, after the fact, ask me, well, why didn't you ask him this? Or why didn't you ask him that? And it's like, this is your opportunity. And if you if you have something that you want to put up here and have us talk about, then now's the time to do it.
Yeah. Good morning, Jackie.
So, all righty. Well, we'll be right back right after this with George. All right, we're back with LeGrand Superintendent, LeGrand School District Superintendent George Mendoza. Glad you're here. How are you, man?
I'm doing well. Good to see you, Brent. Good to see you, Doddsy.
Good to see you.
Yeah. So I guess let's start with the question that we asked before you were on. You were actually right over there and you could have answered. But yeah, so what determines whether school starts before Labor Day or after Labor Day?
Oh, it is kind of like you were describing, the seat time hours and folks collaborating on that. So there's a calendar committee that comes together, usually around 15 to 20 people, and they look at the instructional hours that the district has to offer, and they look at every month and activities that take place every month. So they have to look at what we do with parent-teacher conferences. They look at winter break. They look at Thanksgiving break. They look at spring break. They look at all these places and place marks, and then they also look at the Union County Fair and the stock show.
Falls, yeah.
And so they try to make these decisions based on how do we get it so that more students can participate in the stock show versus miss out of participation in the stock show. So I know that they use that as kind of a capstone, and then they work back from there.
Because the stock show is at the end of the year.
And I guess it's like the second week of June. So a lot of people always want school to end prior to the second week of June or on the Monday, Tuesday, so that folks can do things on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday for stock show.
Got it.
So there's just a lot. I actually don't participate in the calendar committee. Scott Carpenter actually works with the calendar committee. Then they come up with 2 or 3 options, and then basically unions vote and teachers get a chance to give feedback to the committee, and then they give a recommendation to the school board to adopt a calendar. And my understanding is we adopted a 3-year calendar the year before. So I think we're on year 1 of a 3-year adoption for our calendar. But there's a lot of steps.
Yeah. So the bottom line is it's not a casual thing that someone just like, yeah. I mean,
no, it's involved, and there's parents that get invited to that. There's teachers, there's classified staff, there's board members too that represent. And
Students?
I don't know. I would say I don't think that there's a student. There might be a student, but I would say likely not student input at that level. So that could be, I'll just say, an improvement area for us to have a middle school and high school student to give feedback on that committee.
I just think, like, from when I look at it, it doesn't make a lot of sense to go to school for a few days and then have a big long holiday weekend the first week. You know what I mean? Like, it just seems odd.
Well, yeah, it happens.
Yeah.
That's for us to get the days in that we want to. Yeah, and I could go into longer details.
yeah, but it's all right.
Yeah. So, it ain't that
yeah,
big of
so
a
let's
deal.
yeah, so let's yeah. So how is school started,
Uh-huh.
and how's it going? I mean, how how you
You
feeling
know,
about where we're at?
I'm going to just say that it is a normal feeling school year relative to like 5 years ago, or 6 years ago, or 7 years ago. We're talking about school problems nowadays. We're talking about curriculum or math or attendance. We're talking about behavior once in a while. We're talking about typical normal things, air conditioning not working somewhere.
And that's good.
That's
because of, I mean, finish the rest of
well,
that.
just it's no longer about
The C word.
mandate this or requirement that,
right.
or you know, I'll just say anything related to COVID type of
Right.
mitigation strategies, and
Yeah.
and now it's really just teaching and getting kids to engage and getting folks to participate at a high level, and then for us to get people to show up consistently.
Right.
With
So-
the new influx of COVID that's going on right now, there hasn't been anything coming down the pipeline.
Nothing, I'll just say nothing new from the state in terms of get ready for this or do this. So no kind of variant type of strategy and having us to do anything. But we do have a communicable disease plan, and the state always makes you update your communicable disease plan. And then you have to, of course, take action if there is a significant outbreak. But the reality is we just, we've been having to have communicable disease plans for a long time. So, but nothing with the state saying, get ready for this or go do that.
That's good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's good.
Again, this is your opportunity. If you have a question that you want to ask of George, put it in the comments and we'll kind of push that to you.
Put him on the hot seat.
Yeah, put him on the hot seat.
You know, can I go back though?
Yeah,
I will
absolutely.
say vibe. Usually it's always this way too, by the way. New school year, new start, people really excited. So you got that vibe of excitement and joy, and people ready, people wanting to make an impact, and people, like, I'll just use the word, more prepared than ever to like really meet the needs of students. That's the vibe, and kids in general, keeping it, just say, keeping it respectful or keeping things like they're happy to be there too, and showing eye contact and being engaged. And I'll just say, starting off with a strong culture.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's good.
Do you, so the class that just graduated, I guess the senior class, they were last year. I mean, they spent a majority of the COVID. I mean, they were really affected by the COVID years. Are you seeing, and I don't know, I think that part of what I observed, and I think from talking to you and Scott after COVID is that, I mean, going back to class is harder. It's just, I mean, there's not a kid out there that's not going to follow the least path of resistance, and certainly doing online class or being able to skate through that was pretty easy. So then, and in the meantime, some of those kids got jobs and they figured out that they could get paid rather than going back to school. And so then maybe they chose to get a GED or whatever the case might be. So do you think we're kind of through some of that? Have kids acclimated to the harder work of just going back to school, you think?
I think we're moving in that direction. I do think that in general, people don't like doing hard things in general.
Nobody,
and I sometimes think it's a learned habit, it's a learned skill, it's a learned behavior to look at something and say, I don't like it, but I'm going to do it because it's going to make me better. And so I do think that we're getting more kids back, and there are kids that have not done so well online, but they, I'll just say, for mental health or anxiety reasons or whatever it might be, there's reasons that kids say, like, I don't want to be around a whole bunch of other kids, or I don't want to be around a whole bunch of other adults. I kind of like this online. And there's a place for that, and there's systems set up to support people for that. But there are more kids, I'd say, or even families saying that my kid's not doing so well online, or my kid's not learning as much online, or my kid needs more social and peer interactions.
Mm-hmm.
And so they're bringing them back. And then that creates sometimes a set of problems with some kids really on level, some kids very below level, some kids that haven't had as much social interaction, and then getting them back in and getting them engaged. But in general, I would say I wind up doing this kind of like, we've been on this trajectory and we've been going on this trajectory. And there are sometimes kids going this way, but we're trying to get them back, and we're trying to make sure people come back. We are in a place of recovery. So I do feel that I wind up telling people like we are, but I think that there is some disillusionment at times. And then we got to just still understand that that's part of this world. And sometimes we're not happy about some of the things, but we got to accept or acknowledge and then move on and move forward. So,
Yeah.
But yeah, I would say sometimes there are kids still wanting to do an online experience, but I'm going to say there's also a lot of kids coming back because they want an in-person experience.
Well, and it's just hard because when you're, I mean, looking back on all of my schooling through college, there's not ever a time where I loved it. You know, I mean, I took a physics class in high school that I loved, but everything else was like, it would just work, you know, and I never would have volunteered for it. It was just a requirement. It was something, but in college there was a shift for me because, and I figured out, okay, I really do need to absorb this learning for my benefit. And so then my learning style, or at least my practices changed, and I started to be more intentional about getting information. So in high school, it was like, it was pushed on me and I accepted it. You know, in college, it shifted a little bit. And so, and I guess I'm presuming that happens with high school. That happens with high school kids everywhere. They're not really aware. I mean, so if they can skate by doing it online, or skate by doing it an easier way, then they just will. That's just the way the kids are, you know. So
yeah,
I mean, there's a certain segment of them that are playing on that.
Some are really driven, and some really are achievement oriented or goal oriented, and then some are, let me just do what I got to do, and then some are I don't really like this thing. So you get a lot of that, and I think the goal for us is always to like understand them and connect with them, and then try to support them, whoever they are.
Well, and the other dynamic that certainly has changed over the last couple of years is people are needing workers. And so, I mean, you have a high school kid who hasn't even graduated, and he's able to make, you know, $18 an hour just because he's willing to put in the work. And so then from an education standpoint, they're like, well, I'm already making $18 an hour. Why in the world do I need to finish high school? So they're short-sighted. I mean, it's just how it is.
Yeah. And we got to, and we try to communicate long-term and short-term type thinking too on, I'll just say, decisions like that when it comes to it. Yeah.
So you guys broke ground on the Wildcat Center.
Yes.
So talk about that and the other projects that are going on in the school.
So Wildcat Center is going very well. Very thankful for the work that's taking place. Jared Teeter and Mike Becker and their team. There's a gentleman named Scott who's a superintendent that's always there on site, and I've been really impressed with Scott. They moved the dirt now. They've excavated and done all the dirt work necessary. They've got everything approved now for doing the foundation. So they're putting in the stem walls, and they're going to be laying the slab, and then pretty soon we'll be getting the structure up. So I think this month is more a lot of concrete work, a lot of stem wall stuff, a lot of structural integrity stuff from the foundation. And they've moved everything. I'll just say they had to get to clay, and then they had to rebuild and then put in rock and different things for foundation. And so it's been really pleasant, really good. Couldn't be more satisfied with how that's going. We did a seismic grant, so the auditorium at the high school is I'll just call it seismically retrofitted, reinforced for any kind of earthquake event, and has a new I don't know why, roof. And then we have a new facade that's coming up. And then we have the Tiger and an LG at the athletic center because it's in that section. So that whole entrance into the auditorium and gym has been remodeled or upgraded too.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, it's very pretty. We're doing at this time also HVAC projects at the high school, so that the 1950s wings is entirely complete with air conditioning. So
Well, that's the hot area too.
So
you're talking about that.
So
Oh.
at the end of September, we should have a new chiller, and everything's connected to that chiller where there'll be airflow, that's cold airflow, into the gym, into the auditorium, and into the entire 50 wings, as well as the CTE building, having air conditioning. We also fixed the air conditioning units that we had upstairs at the high school and at the middle school. Our goal is to get air conditioning now in the 70s wing of the high school, as well as the downstairs section of the middle school. The tennis court area that was the central parking lot, we now made it into a parking lot. So we took out the tennis court overlay, and then we re-graveled, regraded, and made it into a functioning parking lot with asphalt. So that took place. The Greenwood courtyard was also updated. So we took out all the old asphalt and then we put in new asphalt. So now that courtyard is up to date and new. We put in 2 different ADA ramps at Greenwood as well to improve accessibility. We did 2 playground updates, one for Island City and then one for Greenwood. New carpets in lots of areas. Let's just say a lot of projects, and they've gone well.
Good.
Yeah.
Good. And I was thinking about this earlier. I mean, I've been involved in a number of organizations and helping them grow and adjust and so on and so forth. But in a complex I can't even imagine what it's like for a school district. But those organizations and even our business, you're adjusting 100 little things that you can adjust. A lot of times there's no real big push forward. You're just adjusting a whole bunch of small things a little at a time, raising it, making it better.
Yeah.
Is that ever, I mean, is that your life? Is that a description of
I love the making things better.
Yeah.
Is that's my goal.
Yeah.
Better facilities or better math or better reading or better humans.
Right.
Or better school system, but better. And there's always like, what can we improve, with the money that we have with facilities projects? So there's intentional thinking of projects, and then priority 1 or priority 2 or priority 3, and then aligning the resources so that we can get them. Yeah. And if I ever showed you a list of all of that, to me, it brings me joy that we can just, that one's done. Right. That one's done. But we still have a bunch more to go.
Yeah. And I mean, my staff here, they hear that word all the time, intentional. I just don't want it to be like, the decisions that we make, I want them to be on purpose, and so rather than, So the guys that we've been working on some editing projects and stuff, and they know they have to defend their rationale for why it is that they made those decisions. And that helps us. That drives us all, drives our product better, makes our business better, makes our lives better. So so graduation rates, and I mean, talk about some of the rates, the things that you guys have been working on and how you're doing on that.
Yeah. Good topic. Last school year, we had around a 69% graduation rate. I was to say the 22 or the 21-22 school year. That was a very strong COVID impact year. And
now, how is that measured? 69% of what? People who started? Or
people who started. And then our completion rate was 72%. That's the lowest that I had seen it in my time in our school district. So that was tough. And I'm going to just say I am also accountable, but also I'll just say at some level achievement oriented. And our goal in our strategic plan at that time was to get 95% to 98% completion rates and graduation rates. So that was not good. So immediately that next school year, so the 22-23 school year, once I heard that our rate was this, it's applying strategy and resources. So it's really saying to our counselors and to our principals at the high school and to Scott and me as well, but all right, we need a system that's much better than what we were just doing. So I basically asked for a green zone list, which is all the kids that are on track to graduate, a yellow zone list of the kids that we should be worried about and we should be supporting, and then a red zone list of what kind of targeted interventions and supports are we going to do for students that are in red zone. And then we added a 0 period so that students can come in on an extra period in 8th period, so that students can come in and have lab classes as well as tutoring during that time. And then we started to force basically action for students to take that were credit deficient to take 0 period and 8th period and do credit recovery. And then during the school day, we also had a lab class or a study skills time where we also plugged in students. So that yellow zone decreased and had a much more green zone, and then that red zone became yellow zone, all the way to having some of our red zone become get into the green zone. So the reality is we have a 92% graduation rate this school year, and then our completion rate will likely be anywhere near 94%, and then our on track for students is around 84% for freshmen right now. So
that's your aim for this. That's your prediction for this year.
That's where we finished last year because of the work of. Because we knew what happened 2 years ago, we put in systems in place to start monitoring and checking and having conversations with each student and their families. I told folks, for me, it was like, we need to know their story. We need to know the situation. We need to know what credits they need. We need to apply resource and strategy to make sure that there's more time, practice, and opportunities for them. And I want every 2 weeks for staff to be meeting on this and to be meeting with the students and meeting with the families. And then I asked Scott to create a spreadsheet basically that monitored and tracked. And then every month I would come into meetings to get the updates as well. And then we talk about who's doing what with which student to make sure that they can graduate.
Wow.
So that took place last school year. And that's going to keep taking place.
Good.
The goal is always, to me, every child should graduate, every student.
Well, and that is in a smaller school,
Mhm.
you know, I mean, Embler has done really well with that for many years.
Mhm.
But I mean, I don't know how many, maybe they have 50 seniors graduate. It might be less than that. And that is one of the advantages of a smaller school is you know the names of every one of those kids.
Yeah.
And you know, LeGrand, I mean, normally have less than 200 around it.
Yeah.
Right?
190 to 170.
Yeah. You know, that's a lot of kids.
There's
I
a
mean,
lot
you
of
know their
situations.
names, but
Yeah.
that every one of them is on a journey.
Yeah.
Every one of them is someplace.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of lived life experiences that come into play, and a lot of situations that some have really stable home lives, some don't.
Yeah.
Some come with really strong habits, some don't.
Yeah.
And you got to figure it out with them and try to motivate, inspire, connect, and build relationship, and then get them on track.
Yeah. Well, and that's awesome because I mean, you knew their names, but if they're showing up on a list and they're categorized, and then everybody is alerted to that. Wow, we gotta plug into that kid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So credit to me, it's back to credit to our counselors, credit to our teachers, credit to our principals, credit to Scott, credit to a lot of people to do the work, to build the relationships, to make the connections, to help students find, I'll just say, courses that help them to get recovered with their credits, and then to create, I'll just say, pressure and support and accountability, as well as love, you know, and flexibility, and all of that is what leads for kids to finish.
Yeah. And them attending. Right. Yeah. So,
I love
that. So let's talk about that.
Well, I think I would say another one that came out is, you know, as a district, our attendance, and they use the word regular attender. A regular attender is a child that attends more than 90% of the school year.
Okay.
Okay. Then a non-regular attender is a child that attends less than 90%.
Okay.
And so our regular attender rate was around 72% last year for the district, some higher, some lower in the schools. But what that's basically saying is that around 30% of our kids are not regular attenders. So that really means that we have around 30% of our students that miss more than 17 days of school each year. And it's hard. I'll just say that. I wind up telling people it's hard to be great when you're not showing up. It's hard to learn math when you're not showing up. It's hard to learn reading. It's hard to learn science. It's hard to get all your credits when you're not showing up.
Do you think that has I would imagine that has a lot to do with both parents having to work nowadays? Not the kids aren't near as disciplined as they used to be. My mom told me, "I'll whoop your butt if you don't go to school." I mean, it's that simple.
You're right. There's a lot of factors. Part of it is habits. Part of it is relationships. Part of it is family dynamics. I wind up saying, I came from a family that didn't go to school. My mom went to 3rd grade in Mexico. My dad didn't go to school. There wasn't a strong family value of education. I think my family wanted me to go to school, but they weren't like, you're going to graduate and you're going to be the best thing ever. They weren't doing that. You needed to have a relationship with me. If I knew you liked me, Doddsy, if I knew that you cared about me, and if I knew that you thought I could be something or do something, I'd be like,
you're going to show up.
Yeah, whatever you say, whatever you say, Mr. Dodds. Yes, sir. And that's how it worked for me. I needed relationship or connection or somebody that showed care. And if you showed care, I showed care for you back. But if you were a person that was like, do this, do that, show up or don't, I don't know you, then I'd be like, I'll just do what I need to do. And I'm not going to give you my best effort. I'm just going to check my box too.
Right. So nowadays you have that element, the family, maybe the family's top priority isn't school for the kid. And then you add all the new stuff on top to both parents having to work, not as much accountability for kids. I mean, a lot of kids nowadays are being raised by social media, TV or the internet.
Yeah. There's a lot of things that are different and a lot of ways for kids to have their needs met. And kind of like you were saying, the path of least resistance sometimes it's easy for some people to want that. Doing hard things is a habit that has to be learned. But at the end of the day, it's our duty and our obligation to build relationship. Yeah. And to connect and to engage. And the reality, though, is that the habit of showing up or the habit of attending is really important for jobs, for work,
for real life,
for life. And I would just say, if you attend and if you do participate in a club sport or activity, or you participate by just being engaged in class and turning in assignments, you will pass. Right. I usually tell people it is hard to attend
and fail.
Yeah. But if you attend and you participate, you're going to pass. It's going to happen. Right. So even that attend, participate equals pass. That's a normal thing. But if you don't attend and you don't participate, we're having trouble. We're having to figure it out.
Well, and that is so essential in life skills too. In employment, I'm amazed at when I interact with younger people, and we have a young staff, and that sometimes the people that struggle with showing up on time, being dependent and showing up, or communicating, hey, I'm going to be a little bit late or whatever the case might be. Those soft skills. Some of them are just they're just gone. They're missing. They don't have and it's funny. I was telling Tanya a little bit, last night, we were talking about employees and the people that I interact with. And I said, sometimes I'm a little bit more of an ass up front just because I'm trying to determine where their point is. I want to know, are they going to tolerate this? Are they going to put up with me being this way and being their boss? Because I need to know that up front. If they can't handle some of those things that I ask them to do that seem to be menial, and they can't do those things dependably, then how are they going to do the things that I really need them to do down the road? And that's missing. That's missing sometimes out of this culture. And that comes back to showing up to class, doing your homework, turning it in, taking a test, even if you don't feel like you're fully prepared. All of those things are super important life skills. So.
Yeah. We gotta keep doing that. And,
Yeah.
and honestly, it's like people need to hear this message, right? Parents need to hear this. We need to teach, or we need to explain, or we need to motivate and inspire. We need to have slogans and signs, or we need to just make the world know that like this is important, and it's important for our kids, whether they go to our schools or they go to other schools, or whether they just want to have more fulfilling lives. That showing up, it's a big deal.
Yeah.
It's one of the top qualities that a human can have, is the ability to be consistent and show up regularly.
Yeah. Good stuff. All right. Well, let's switch topics. Talk about sports a little bit. This is
third
yeah.
and
Yeah.
you're something about.
Yeah, no. So, you know, of course, we want football and volleyball and cross country to go great. We're really proud of our kids and our athletes, but just in the last 7 years, really, we've been in the top 5 for that OSAA Cup.
Every year.
We've won it once. We've got second place like 2 or 3 times, third place this last school year. And so that's the OSAA Cup, is all the sports programs that you have, and as well as your arts, so your band and your choir, and how they do at state performances, as well as academic achievement by the students for graduation. So third place for the state of Oregon this last year. Yeah. We were wrestling champions last year, cross country girls champions, choir champions again, Final 4 basically for baseball, football, top 8 for softball, girls track second place last school year.
Oh yeah,
we were really close actually to the first place team. So the second and the third were really, like, I think a few points away. So we're you know, and we'll have a great school year this year too. And we've got great, I'll just say, great coaches, great athletes, great parents, great people moving in the same direction. And I'm just, you know, that it would be bad for us to not acknowledge or appreciate that we do things pretty well athletically, or even with our arts and activities. So, but I would say great kids, great coaches, great parents, great people.
There's a direct tie too between extracurricular activities and athletics and success in the classroom.
Yes, I love that. You're right.
It's proven research. Yeah. I mean,
yes. If you're excellent permeates at a lot of levels.
Yeah,
like
100%.
that. Those habits, those skills, get you far in life.
Yeah, and the research says that if you're engaged in extracurricular activities or athletics, you're way less likely to get in trouble.
I love what you're saying.
No, I mean, I've read about it.
Yeah,
it's
that's the truth.
It's very very important.
Yeah, it's hard to. I'll just say it's hard to get in trouble when you're doing all the right things, and it's hard not to be successful when you're doing a lot of the right things.
Yeah, different level of accountability.
Mm-hmm. So
well, and you know, as you were listing all of those things, the faces of coaches came into my mind, every one of those, you know, as you mentioned, or choir directors or whatever, you know, I mean, it goes back to that thing that you said, the thing that worked for you as a kid is if somebody made a personal connection with you, you know, the programs that I was involved in when I was in high school and college, they were dependent upon, you know, I mean, I was sang in choirs, and there was one choir that I sang in as a college or even after college, and the director, I mean, it was like, I mean, it was a 50 voice choir or whatever it might be. And it was like, there were lots of great voices, and I didn't really felt like I was needed, but he went out of his way to say, no, I need you. And he would converse with me. I need you. I can hear you. You know, and that connection made a difference in my life. It's why I showed up. And so even as an adult, and so, you know, and every one of those coaches' faces that you mentioned, they do that. I know they do that with their kids. You know, it's like, hey, no, I need you to run track, or I need you to sing, or I need you to dance, or whatever it is. You know, those connections are incredibly powerful. Make a difference in the life of kids. Yeah.
You're right. Love that.
Yeah.
For me, especially people with my personality or whatever, I needed people to guide me or care about me, and I would give you the best if you showed that.
Well, and that's exactly right. Yeah. If you have someone who depends on you and they're depending on you personally, you're going to give them the effort.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What about we got a cheer team for the first time in 10 years? 10 years.
Yeah, it took Kimberly Westensko did a lot of work, and she has different parents or different people supporting. So I'm really inspired by the level of collaboration and support she's getting. Of course, working with the high school, working with Darren Goodman, I tend to be more of an abundant person. So if there's room for all of us, kind of deal. There's room for more if people want more.
Yeah.
And I want that too. And so I'm really pleased that she, there's been other people that have asked us, and I've told people before, if there's firm commitment, if there's enough kids that want to participate, I'm not going to say no.
Right.
And she went through that process of getting kids and then getting things scheduled and going through I'll just say the process that we have for our policy. And I've been really impressed.
Yeah, we have like 16 or 17 girls out for cheer.
Yeah.
4 seniors.
And they're active. They're participating.
Yeah. 100%.
And they're going to pass.
Yeah.
Those are things that are going to happen. And it makes, again, it keeps them connected and engaged. All the things that we need that help a human to be well balanced.
Yeah.
And it's not just like, yes, I want reading and math, but I also want reading and math and a good human and somebody that knows how to solve problems and collaborate.
Right.
Those soft skills you're talking about. This is what sports does. Memories and experiences and opportunities, and relationships. It does all these things. It brings people together. So it's good.
Well, and it's so dependent upon leadership. The organizations I've been a part of, you can sit in a board meeting or, get together and you can pitch ideas all day long. Wouldn't it be great if, or wouldn't that be cool if, but unless you have somebody who emerges to say, I will do that. Yeah. I mean, if the leadership of that particular area doesn't show up, it's just an idea.
Yeah. Love that. I wind up doing the same with a lot of it's easy to talk.
Yeah.
It's a lot harder to do the work.
Yeah.
And if you're wanting to do the work, I will support you. But if it's just talk and you want me to do something and we're already at capacity, I need others that I tell people I have enough energy to help launch or help lift or help fund, but I don't have enough energy to keep it all going. So if you really want this thing, you have to really show commitment too.
Right.
So we have those kinds of conversations on a variety of things that we do.
Right.
But I love good things. I love great things, and I like people doing great things.
Speaking of,
no, I was just going to say, and none of those coaches or those activity people or they don't get paid enough to do it for the money. They do it because they see the investment, they like it, and they want to do it.
Or they have a kid involved.
Yeah.
I'll just use the word passion. There's passion there. There's got to be passion or drive or some level of impact that they want to give or they want to contribute. Yeah. And I love that kind of energy.
Speaking of great things happening, I got a phone call. I want to say last Monday or Tuesday, maybe the Friday before, but from Dalton Sheets, the new football coach, and he's like, on Wednesday, because I was planning on showing up on Wednesday to schedule all the senior football players for interviews. Mm-hmm. And he's like, well, on Wednesday, the band and the cheer team got a hold of me and they want to do a performance for us. Can you come cover it too? So Benny and I went down early and we played the video at halftime of the football game. But the football team actually sat out there and watched after practice, watched the band and the cheer team go through all their stuff and clapped. And, it was the cheerleaders had suckers for all the football players. And this is stuff that people don't get to see normally. You know what I mean?
And I think you said something to me.
It was pretty cool.
But that right there, not even knowing all the details, I know you're the person that told me that you had filmed something, then you'll play at halftime. And I didn't see it. But even you sharing that, right there, that this is connecting with me that the band kids are feeling seen now.
Yeah.
They're feeling seen by the football players and they're feeling seen by the cheerleaders, by you, and then all that you're doing, and then the cheerleaders are being seen by the football players, and then they're seen by the band player. That kind of stuff builds culture, creates connection, builds relationships, and not a lot of people even see all of those things, or maybe they do.
Yeah.
But have just even doing those things,
Yeah.
Those are memories. Those are lifelong things that what I do matters.
Yeah, and most coaches don't even think about stuff
Oh.
like that. I mean, it's like, I mean, if I tried to put myself in the same shoes as Sheets, a new coach, you know, a week before my first game, I'm not thinking about that kind of stuff. But I thought it was pretty awesome that he went out of his way to call and say, hey, you know, this is happening. And I don't know what the influence was, and it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It's just cool.
Yeah, love it.
It really is.
Culture building, team building, all of that, beautiful.
Yeah.
That's what we should do.
And that term, being seen, took me a while to get my head around that. And, you know, on the surface, it seems fluffy, it seems trite, or why is that important? But it really matters. I mean, everybody has a memory. I certainly have memories when I was in high school and a senior who I respected in some manner turned around to me at choir and said, wow, you sound really good.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, and so suddenly is like that older person who I respected saw me, and it made a difference in my life. Yeah. So, I mean, it's absolutely right. It's critical. And that goes into adulthood too. I mean, it doesn't matter. You can be working in a multi-layer thing like what, you know, the school district is. You have all these layers, and somebody who is a janitor, their whole life can be turned around by somebody, an administrator. And I know, you know, that recognizing them. Hey, I see what you're doing. I see the effort that you're doing, you know, makes a big difference in our lives.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, right.
My favorite person at the high school when I was in high school was a janitor.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not joking.
No.
Jesse was the janitor. Was he here when you were here?
He's still here.
Is he? Oh, man, Jesse, man. I love that guy. He was the best. The best janitor.
I could
ever.
set up a time for you guys if you want.
Oh, I would love to. I'd love to interview him. That would be awesome. That would be amazing.
Well, I wonder if it's the same Jesse here.
It's got to be. How long has he been? He's been there for a long time.
I mean, I know I don't want to say age stuff, but he's been around. I'll just say that. So
yeah.
he's been around.
It's got to be the same.
Yeah.
guy.
He's
gotta be.
been here longer than I've been here. I know that.
Yeah.
Well, cool. Well, George, thanks. Anything else you want to mention before we quit here?
No, I would just say, you know, a theme that we have for this school year is impact. And I just would say that we all make an impact. That some of our conversations right now really was about the impact people have made on our lives. Could have been the janitor, could be the coach, could be the teacher, could be the bus driver, the cook, could be a parapro, could be a secretary, could be the parents, could be us. Like, we all make an impact. And if our goal is to be, you know, very impactful, it's got to be somewhat in this positive realm. And it is about the gratitude, or it is the appreciation. It is the I see you. It is the spending time. It is the positive affirmations. It's all of those kinds of things that when we do that well, kids are motivated, kids are inspired, kids stick it out, kids graduate. And so the impact that we make matters. It's like the air we breathe. You know, we don't always know or think about that kind of stuff, but you're here because somehow you were impacted. Doddsy's here, impacted. Same for me. So I just want everybody to know, like, the more that we make a positive impact, the better for our world.
Yeah. Good.
Better for our kids. Good.
Thank you. And thank you for being here. Thank you for staying here.
Yeah.
You've been here now, how long?
I'm starting my seventh
awesome.
year.
Yeah.
So
And
2017, 2018.
and Scott Carpenter for all that he does, and the other staff, you know. And I have people occasionally who will, I had, you know, a family member not too long ago, like, well, what do you think of, and he specifically asked me about the city councilor. What do you think about the commissioners or whatever? And it was this suspicious, like, yeah, this stuff that we hear on the news, do you think that's permeating? And certainly those conversations, I mean, there's so much chaos. I think it's reducing a little bit, but there's been so much chaos and drama that had to do with school boards, and certainly, you know, COVID presented a whole ton of stuff that just distracted what it was that you were trying to do, and schools in the area were trying to do and are trying to do. Point I'm saying is this, is that I believe in you. I believe in Scott. I believe in the teachers. And the same thing for our city council people and our commissioners. I know all of you personally. And if there was a problem, I mean, if I felt like there was something that smelled that didn't pass the smell test, I would point it out. I would dig into it, and I appreciate who you are. I appreciate you insulating us as much as you can from the stuff that really has nothing to do with education. So, and I know that you passed the smell test. So that's, I don't know what that means for sure, but yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. And I guess the point is that, if there are people out there that are suspicious or whatever the case might be, they can reach you.
Yeah.
They can come talk to you.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
They can. And, I do follow process and systems. So that's one of the things, but definitely if they need to just talk to me and get to know me or understand some of our issues or some of the things that they might have concerns with, I'll make time for that.
Yeah.
If it's a concern about their child or a concern, it's really, have you talked to the teacher? Have
Right,
you talked to
right.
the principal? Have you done it that way? But I still would say anytime people really want to chat with me, they can email me, they can call me, they can set up a time to meet with me.
Yeah.
All of that.
Well, and I remember this a few years ago. I mean, and sometimes just the direct question, whatever. I mean, the thing they're suspicious about, rather than creating a whole bunch of drama, just ask the question. Just, hey, how much is this particular issue actually affecting us locally? And just a direct question kind of cuts right through it all and gives you guys the opportunity to answer those questions. So there's a path for you guys to do so. And you've had a path to submit questions here in the last hour, and you haven't. So
No, somebody said hi. But
somebody said
that's
hi.
about it.
Yeah. So, all righty. Well, hey, you want to get us out of here, man?
On this day, September 7th, 1813, Uncle Sam is first used to refer to the U.S. by Troy Post of New York. 1813. 1909, Eugene Lefebvre becomes the first pilot to die in an airplane.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Wow.
1909. He was flying a new French-built Wright biplane.
Must have been 1909.
1909, that's what I said.
Okay.
Yeah. 1936, Boulder Dam, which is now Hoover Dam on the Colorado River between Nevada and Arizona, begins operation. 1968, on this day, Jimmy Page, Robert Plant, John Paul Jones, and John Bonham make their live debut as Led Zeppelin, but they were billed as the New Yardbirds in front of about 1,200 students at Egegard School in Gladsaxe, Denmark. Led Zeppelin, one of the most famous bands ever. 1996, rap artist Tupac Shakur is shot multiple times in a drive-by shooting in Las Vegas, Nevada. He would die 6 days later. 2020, on this day, wildfires in California burn a record 2 million acres, which is bigger than the whole state of Delaware.
Wow.
Yeah, 2020. That was those bad fires. I remember when I was in college down in California, it must have been 98, I think, 99 maybe. The whole Cajon Pass was on fire, which is the pass between like the basin, which is like Riverside, LA, all that, and the high desert, which is like Victorville, Barstow, California. And I had to drive from up there down the Cajon Pass and then back to go to school.
Wow.
And the whole Cajon Pass was on fire for like, I want to say like 3 weeks.
Wow.
You could feel it when you're driving,
Yeah.
California, man, that's scary. 2022, discovery of the earliest evidence of surgery from a 31,000-year-old skeleton with an amputated lower leg in a cave in East Kalimantan, Borneo. 31,000 years ago, there was somebody cut somebody's leg off.
Wow.
Isn't that crazy? 31,000. Well, what'd they use? A stone? Could you imagine how bad that would hurt?
Yeah.
Yeah. The number one song in the country on September 7th, 1993, Dream Lover by Mariah Carey. And if you're my age, every boy my age has been in love with her at one point or another in their life.
Yeah.
For sure. George is smiling because he knows. He's the quote, never give up on a dream just because of the time it will take to accomplish it. The time will pass away. and that's Earl Nightingale. One more time, never give up on a dream just because of the time it will take to accomplish it. The time will pass away.
All righty. Thanks, Eastern Oregon, for tuning in. Thanks for being here, George.
Yeah, next
Appreciate
Tuesday
it. Yep.
we'll be back. George, appreciate it.
Yep. We'll see you soon.